Hello there and welcome back. Today we talk about the new beautiful Collision device Crushturnal. This pedal is pretty unique and I think it's following the line of very cool and unique pedal that a Collision device already made. I own two Nocturnal in this limited edition, which is very beautiful, and the gorgeous black hole symmetry. It's one of the most beautiful pedals that I own, honestly. The Crushturnal came to be as an happy accident. When they release their pedal, they always have a sort of story behind it, and it's something that I really appreciate because I said before, by now we are flooded by great products. So I'm always fascinated and interested to know what lies behind a creation like this. You might have seen in the thumbnail, I call this video Killer Combo 2 because I think this pedal works wonderfully with the Intellijel Cascadia. Why? The Intellijel Cascadia is a monosynth, this is a mono pedal. The Cascadia has all of these gorgeous melancholic tones that are perfect to be mangled in the Crushturnal. I also love the fact that I can use the effects send, the mono effects send and return to make this setup really organic. And yeah, I already did the demo of the Cascadia, so today we will talk mostly about the Crushturnal, but yeah, we'll see what we can do. Everything as usual, sequenced by the trusty Oxy One. Okay, before going on, few ways you can support my page. Please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel, completely free. You can buy from the affiliate link down below. And finally, you can become a Patreon. On Patreon, I do one-on-one. You'll find hundreds of videos, projects, samples. And yeah, it's the best way to support my channel. All right, let's go back. Let's turn everything off and let's listen what was the sound before and how it works. I created this very slow, melancholic things, which I really love. So, what is the Crushturnal? It is a delay, a weird one, that can be a delay or a crush, bit crusher, into a reverb. What makes it unique, it's also that it has a clock that is not the kind of clock that set your tempo, but works with the CPU, with the DSP, the internal DSP, making basically your sound more hi-fi or lo-fi and create all the weirdest glitchy texture. And the sequencer can work both with the delay or the reverb. You can decide that. But let's start turning things on. So first, let's hear. Here is the delay on. So as you can see, all the three parts are color-coded. The gray knobs are the digital repeater or delay. You have an effects level here that mix the dry and wet signal. You have a crush knob that decide if you're sending the signal to the delay or you just send the dry signal to the crush. So in this case, I just listen to the clean signal. And here we have the beautiful beat crusher, or we can use the delay and send it to the beat crusher. Then we have a time. This is not a tap tempo. We have a tap tempo, but just for the sequencer. We will talk about that in a second. And moving through time, it creates glitches. It's the design of this pedal. It's all about happy accident, noise. And so this then is followed by the feedback. That said, discover the digital repeater. Let's listen to the ambience, which I really love. It's a reverb. I'd say it's a very ambient reverb. Let's turn it on. You have just 3 knobs, effects level, which again blend in the dry and wet signal. It's very beautiful. Diffusion, it's your decay. This is meant to be an ambient tool, a sound design, texture tool. So don't expect your basic reverb. And then you have a filter, which it's a high pass, low pass filter, depending on the position. Both of these pedals have a kill dry function, which is pretty fun. When you press it longer, now your dry signal is completely erased. So you just hear the sound of the effects. In this case, I have the digital repeater is not even on, so let's turn it on. Let's destroy the sound with sample rate. So as you can hear, the sound goes first here. And then goes inside the ambience, but it kills the dry signal, which in case was coming from here, this beat crushed thing. And now you have this gorgeous pad. Which will react to all the movement that you can do in the Cascadia. When the kill dry is activated, of course, turning effects level to 0, kill entirely the volume. And you can bring it back by long press. Now, there's one knob here called the clock. The clock, as mentioned before, change the hertz, the kilohertz of the DSP, the internal DSP. You can decide to send this clock function to the digital repeater and the ambience, both or none. So at this moment, I only have it on the digital repeater. Let's listen what it does. So I'm using a not sample down delay. Let's see what happens. As you can hear, weird things are happening here. Let's try to figure it out. What's happening is like this clock work on the DSP. You can go from 1 Hz to 72 kilohertz. This means that basically you are downgrading immensely your signal when you're at 1, and you make it more hi-fi when it's 72. You can then engage this other 3 tool here, which is the sequencer. Right now I'm in the clock. What does it mean? It means that with a long press on the sequencer, I can get into the tap tempo. So the rate is overridden, but I can still, as you can hear, move it. Each one overrid each other. So say now I set a tempo. Now I can decide the step size. This means how this sequencer will change the clock division. And they made it in a way that can follow scales from a tiny change, from minor, major, minor second, minor third, and so on and on until you get to octave. Now I'm in octave, and as you can see, basically the clock jumps between octaves. Then you have the mode. The mode tells you how the clock moves. The first few make the clock go up. So from this position it will go towards higher resolution, or can go towards lower resolution, as you can hear, or both, up and down. So I like to use it on tiny. In this way, it works sort of like a detuning thing. So right now we are listening to the digital repeater clocked down with some sample reduction. But what if we want to have it on your ambience? So you double press both of the effects, and now you see that the digital repeater is impacted by the clock. We can deactivate that. Let's listen now just on ambience. Let's get out of this modality. Now you can hear the sequencing. All right, let me change also sequence, and let's create something else. Let's do this. I rather want to go back to the setting. I want the clock on the digital repeater. Then I could, also here you can decide if the sequencer is internal tempo or external. You can put a sync here. In the future, you can also send triggers to it, which will be interesting because each trigger will change the clock. Now I have a pre-production, so it's not happening yet. But let's leave it like this. Let's create something interesting. First, let's bring in the digital repeater. The clock impacts also in everything, the tempo, so it changed the sounds a lot. And it's basically one of the main feature and unique feature of the pedal. So what I advise is like, start with your clean sequence, like this, and then create something. So right now, what did we create? We put the sequencer that is tap-tempoed in octave. The mode is ascending. I put the clock below the half point, which would be 42 kilohertz. So I have this sort of interesting rhythmical sequence, which I didn't have. Like, this is the very basic sound. Super cool. Now let's bring in the ambience. Add a bass under this, and this would be amazing. When you're here, you can also experiment. So let's, for example, now kill the dry signal on the digital repeater. So what's happening now? I'm just hearing the affected signal. It can go through the delay, but we can also just use it for the sample rate destruction. I'm using a minor 7 now. Let's using an ascending and descending mode. There's no feedback because I'm just using the dry. See how now everything is getting crazy because the sequencer moved toward all of this step. Let's bring in. Needless to say, you can sit down, have a session, and create soundscape, create sample, and this is how I love to use pedals, honestly. Let's bring delay in. And now we bring the feedback. Let's kill dry also that. And now we are back in this cool pad. Let's remember, this is all made with a mono notes. I'm sure you can just play a single note and create interesting stuff. Pretty cool. Let's actually try something interesting. Let's just use a note. And let's see what happened with just that. This helps you understand what's happening with the sequencer. So I select octave. Let's try with minor 7. Minor third. You have perfect fourth. Now I'm deciding the rate with the time, with the rate. Now, there's other two interesting things that you can do. You have an expression and CV in. This can be used with a pedal or with CV. So now I am gonna clock my sample and hold with the end of cycle of the envelope A, and I will send this value into the CV in. This will change my clock, as you can hear. This can be also clocked with scale, I don't know, you can experiment with it, but things are getting weird. Another things you can do, use the CV out, with send out the value of the sequencer, and use it, for example, back into your synth to control something. Right now I'm controlling the frequency Q. Now, let's bring in the ambience. So what you're listening now, it's a single note, but you create this soundscape with it. I'm turning on everything. This is what happened out of the Cascadia. It's a single note. We can change the rate. Or make it very slow. If you want to be less lo-fi, you put the clock in a higher position. But it's kind of fun to go also very low. And listen what happened here. Then you can add notes and see what happened. And then get back into something. And so on and on and on. So definitely, let's kill dry and let's stay in this crazy soundscape. And let's conclude the video. I really enjoy the design of Collision Devices. They try to push the box a little further. Again, if I need basic reverb and delay, I'm completely covered, mostly with plugins. I really enjoy this kind of detour from the common effects. Something that really leads to experimentation and creation of sound that I wouldn't know how to do elsewhere. So, what is this pedal for? First, for people that, like me, sometimes loves to work in mono. I know that a lot of you might say, oh damn, I wish it was stereo. And I think they might work on a stereo version in the future. But I think that a lot of instruments are meant to work in mono, and I love sometimes to have things that works like the Cascadia going inside something like the Crushturnal. This is a gold mine of sound. You can build libraries, and depending on what is your job, depending what is your goal, pedals like this really helps you to build beautiful ear candy. And also, as we did before, you can just use it as a simple delay, simple reverb. All right. Let's go dark. For example, this is pretty cool. Let me thank Collision Devices for sending me this unit. I hope this was interesting, and thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, and I'll see you next week. Ciao.